If you're like me, you watch a ton of YouTube videos, read articles, skim newsletters, and listen to a handful of podcasts every week. And most of the time, even when the content is great, you only remember a small fraction of it later. At least I do. And I've tried a ton of note-taking apps over the years to fix that. Some are good, some use AI to organize things, but none of them have really solved the problem of actually helping me to retain what I've learned. But then I started using Recall. Recall is an AI-powered knowledge base that captures, summarizes, organizes, and connects everything that you consume online. Articles, PDFs, YouTube videos, podcasts, TikToks, research, all of it gets pulled into one central place. And what makes Recall different is that it doesn't just save information for later, it lets you have personalized conversations across all the content that you store, including your own notes. So you can actually ask questions, pull insights, and connect ideas from sources that you trust. It's like being able to talk to your knowledge base instead of just searching through it. And honestly, the impact on my workflow has been massive. It's not just about storage, it's about speed. I'm saving hours every week because I no longer have to scrub through a 2-hour YouTube video to find that one specific insight. Recall finds it instantly. And what's really helped me learn faster is that it automatically organizes everything that I save, tagging concepts and topics on its own, so I don't have to spend time categorizing or try to remember which folder I put something in. It also connects the dots between a newsletter that I read 3 months ago and a video that I just watched today. So those ideas don't just sit in isolation, they actually build on each other. I'm personally using it for everything from deep diving into market research for my business to simply organizing health protocols and recipes. It turns passive consumption into active knowledge. And while Recall has worked well to get my online content in order, their latest update just means that I now get my written content in order too. They just launched their new AI note taker, a Notion-style editor that enables a much richer note-taking experience. I can now create my own notes, link them, quiz myself, and even chat with my own notes, creating a seamless bridge between consumption and creation. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through how Recall works. We're going to go over the Chrome extension and these major new updates, plus so much more. And I'm also going to circle back to those specific use cases that I mentioned to show you exactly how to set them up. And as always, if you want to try Recall, just check out the link in the video description below. All right, with that being said, let's get started. Okay, before we jump in, it helps to know the different ways that you can access Recall. So the main experience is through the web app, which is what you're looking at right now. But there's also a mobile app for iPhone and Android, and it makes saving content super quick when you're on the go. You can share content directly to Recall from your phone's share menu, so anything that you discover online or in social apps goes straight into your knowledge base with one tap. But my personal favorite way to use Recall is through the browser extension, especially on desktop. And that way, anytime you come across a video, article, or resource worth saving, you can pull it straight into your knowledge base without leaving the page. And I'll show you how to do that right now. First things first, you can get started with Recall for free by visiting their homepage, and you can get that link in the video description below. And from here, click the Get Recall Free button in the upper right corner of the screen. And that will bring up the sign up flow where you can create your free account. You can sign up with Google or Apple or enter your email and create a password. And then once you've created your account, Recall walks you through a short onboarding flow. The first screen shows you a quick tutorial that gives an overview of how the platform works. You can watch it now or skip it and come back later, but I actually highly recommend checking it out. One of the co-founders of Recall gives a ton of great info on how to navigate and use the platform. Now, we're obviously going to go over all that in this video, but this is still a great resource if you're brand new to Recall. Okay, so I'm going to click the I've watched the video button to move forward. And next, Recall will encourage you to install the browser extension. This is one of the most important steps because the extension is what lets you save articles, videos, PDFs, and podcasts directly from your browser without switching tabs. So go ahead and click Install Browser Extension, and that will take you to the Chrome web store where you can add Recall to Chrome with one click. Just click the Add to Chrome button, and then the Add Extension button, and you're good to go. Then once it's installed, make sure you pin it to your browser toolbar, and you could do that by clicking the little puzzle piece icon in Chrome, and then find the Recall extension in the list, and click the pen icon. And now it will always be visible and ready whenever you want to save something while using Chrome. Then just keep moving through the onboarding, and even recall is like, did you pin the extension? We did, so I'll click I pinned it. And then recall even encourages you to use the extension and save your first summary, which we'll do in just a bit, but I'm going to skip this. And when I do, that'll take us to our recall knowledge base. So once you sign up, your knowledge base will be pretty much blank, but it's definitely ready for you to start adding content. And you can add content in a few different ways, one being the Add Content button in the upper right corner. And whenever you click this, it opens the Add Content panel, and this is really where Recall gives you multiple ways to bring information into your knowledge base. Right at the top, you'll see several options. The first tab is the URL tab, which lets you paste in any link that you could find online. And this supports many different media formats, as you can see here from this list, as well as pretty much any article or web page that you come across. All you have to do is paste the link in that field there, and then click the Create button, and Recall will pull the content in, provide the transcript with timestamps in the reader view on the right, and then generate the summary on the left. Recall also turns this into what is called a card on your homepage, but we'll dive into all that a little later on in the video. Next, we have the Wiki tab, and this is where you could pull in predefined data sources from places like Wikipedia, Google's Knowledge Graph, and Wikidata. So if you want to add quick, factual background on a person, place, or concept, you could search for it here and bring it straight into your knowledge base without needing to track down a URL. As you can see, I searched for N8N, and when I select it, Recall basically grabs the data from Wikipedia and saves it here in the reader, where I can then review, take notes, quiz myself, and chat with AI about this specific content. You also have a dedicated PDF tab, which lets you upload PDFs from your computer. You can drag and drop a file or click the Choose File button. And if you work with reports, research papers, ebooks, documentation, or any kind of PDF-heavy material, this makes it easy to get everything into Recall so you could summarize it and chat with the content later. Again, once the PDF has been added, it's converted to the reader, and Recall even gives us this great concise summary of the PDF here in the notebook, and we'll go over the notebook in greater detail in just a few moments. Next, the Import tab is especially helpful if you already have a stash of saved articles or notes. Here, you can import your browser bookmarks, bring in saved articles from Pocket, or import markdown files from tools like Obsidian or Notion. Just keep in mind that when importing pages, Recall initially stores only the reader content. Summaries and connections are not created until you open the card and ask Recall to generate them. And finally, there's the Empty Note option. This lets you create a blank card from scratch. So if you want to take manual notes, outline ideas, brainstorm, or store information that's not tied to a link or a file, you could do that here. And real quick, Recall actually just updated their entire notebook experience, so the way notes are created, organized, and managed has got a lot smoother. And I'll walk you through some of those updates as I quickly add some brainstorming ideas that I've had for some upcoming YouTube videos on AI that I want to create. And as I mentioned, Recall added new tools that make this easier to structure your ideas, connect related cards, and keep everything in one place. And I'm going to walk you through all of the new notebook features a little later on in the video so you could see exactly how the upgraded workflow works in practice. But you could do things here like edit the title. Just simply place your cursor there and update the title if you want. And then below that, you could click this little add tag icon. And this lets you add and assign tags to the content to help keep things organized. Then another cool feature is you have these navigation tabs that let you access the chatbot. You can create a quiz, access the connections, and interact with the graph, which we'll go through in just a bit. But you can drag and drop and rearrange these tabs to your liking if you want. Another quick tip, when you start creating cards and adding content, you'll more than likely see the notebook or reader on the right, and then the chat panel or whichever tab you have selected on the left. However, Recall gives you even more control over how your workflow displays. First, if you click this icon towards the bottom right corner of the header, it lets you swap the screens from left to right. Another display tip is that if you click this double arrow icon in the upper right corner of the screen, this gives you a collapsed view and only displays the tabbed view. So now I have a more focused experience here in my card's content. Finally, another quick tip is if you click this three-dot icon in the upper right corner of the toolbar, you can add images. So after I select images from the drop-down, Simply click the plus icon and then find the image you want to use. Then once uploaded, find the thumbnail and click the three-dot icon there in the upper right, and then select Use as Main Image, and it adds the image to the header above the tabbed view. Just another cool way to clean up and add some flair to your content in Recall. Then when you're done, you could go back to the Home tab to see it appear in your timeline as a new card. Just click Home. And then as you can see, the whole layout is clean and simple. And as you start adding content, Recall will automatically organize it by date and topic, so everything stays tidy without you doing any extra work. And again, as you can see, I've begun adding various types of content to my knowledge base, like YouTube videos, PDFs, articles, even my notes, and Recall instantly grouped them into relevant categories in the sidebar, while also displaying them chronologically on the main knowledge base. So whether I'm dropping in something new today or digging up something that I saved last week, everything is easy to find and visually consistent without me having to manage folders or structure anything manually. Okay, next let's go over how to add content with the Chrome extension. So most of my research happens while I'm browsing, which is why I rely on the Recall Chrome extension. And once you install it and pin it to your toolbar, it's always just one click away. So if I'm researching AI automation tools on YouTube, I can open a video and click the Recall icon, and the extension instantly slides out on the right side of the screen. From here, Recall analyzes the video and pulls everything into the notebook view for me. I get a clean breakdown of the video that includes a title, tags, and a full summary organized by timestamps, which makes it easy to skim the main points without watching the entire thing again. And if I want to see more than just a summary, I could switch over to the Reader tab. This gives me a full text version of the video's content, so I could scroll through it just like I'm reading a blog post. It includes all the spoken segments, time markers, and sections, which makes it really easy to review longer videos. And one of my favorite things about this mode is that all of these timestamps are clickable. So if I tap on a timestamp inside the Reader, the YouTube player jumps right to that moment in the video. It makes it incredibly easy to hop around, revisit specific sections, or skip straight to the tools or topics that I want to see again. And in the video, you can see me click on a few of these just to show how fast the syncing is. And it updates instantly and keeps both the video and the Reader perfectly aligned while browsing through the content. There's also a lock screen at the top of the extension, and if I click that, it keeps the Recall panel open even when I click around on the page or the video on the left. That way I could pause the video, scroll, navigate, and the extension stays in place while I'm reviewing the content. Then at the bottom of the panel, I could switch between a concise summary or a detailed summary depending on how in-depth I want to go. And then below that is a chat box, which lets me ask specific questions and interact with AI about this content. So if the video covers a lot of different tools and I want to know which ones are best for building websites or blogs, I could just type that into the chat, and then Recall analyzes the video and gives me a clear, organized answer. Additionally, you can add the new summary to your notebook by clicking the plus Add Notebook button. And this allows you to save the new summary and come back to it whenever you like. It's a great way to keep all your insights in one place and build out a running record of what you're learning. Next, let's take a look at the Connections tab. This automatically analyzes the content and surfaces all of the relevant entities, topics, tools, and companies that are mentioned inside that piece of content. And in this case, since this is a video about AI tools, Recall instantly picked up on the names like Zapier, Google, Perplexity AI, 11 Labs, ChatGPT, etc. And what's great is that Recall organizes these connections into clean categories like corporation, product, and software application, so you could quickly scan through everything that was referenced. And if you want to dig deeper on any of these, just click on it, and Recall brings up an internal card where I can explore everything it found that relates to that term. It's a smart way to jump between ideas and explore related topics without getting lost or opening a bunch of new tabs. It keeps everything contained inside your knowledge base so that all of your research stays connected. Next, let's go ahead and open the full card inside Recall. And all you have to do is click the Open button at the top of the extension. And this switches you over to the internal reader and notebook view. And this is really where Recall separates itself from the typical AI browser experience. Sure, a lot of other AI browsers can generate summaries, but once you've summarized something with them, where do you actually save it? And how do you organize it so it's useful later? Well, Recall solves that problem by turning a one-off summary into a reusable knowledge asset. On the left, you'll see the concise notebook summary that's generated from the saved content. And then on the right, you'll see the full reader view, which is a clean, article style layout that lets you read through the content without distractions like ads or comments. Everything is organized, searchable, and easy to navigate, so you're not just generating summaries, you're building a structured knowledge base that you can come back to, update, and build over time. And if you ever want to get back to your main knowledge base, just click the home icon in the left sidebar, and this takes you back to your knowledge management area where all of your saved content lives. From here, you can organize your materials into folders, browse everything that you've collected so far, or open any other card back up in either the Reader or Notebook view whenever you need it. All right, so now that you know how to use the Recall browser extension, let's take a closer look at the inside of each card and go over some of the features. So each card in Recall has its own notebook section, which is one of the features that I use the most. And this is where I can type my own notes, jot down ideas, paste insights, or even add images, tables, etc. All of it's stored alongside the content so that every article, video, or podcast becomes a full learning package with my own thoughts and Recall's AI-generated summaries all in one place. And taking a look at the new notebook editor, here are some of my favorite features. First, Recall now has a Notion-style block editor. So you could structure your notes using different formatting options just by clicking the plus sign or using the / commands. For example, if you want to add notes, simply place your cursor here in the notebook editor and start typing like you normally would in email or Google Doc. But if you want to get more specific with the formatting or reference other content, just click the / button on your keyboard to open the command menu. From here, you'll see a full library of formatting and content blocks that you can insert. You can have the basics like text, headings, bulleted text, numbered lists, and to-do checklists, which makes organizing longer research sessions a lot cleaner. You also have more advanced options like code blocks, tables, quotes, callouts, images, and even auto-generated summaries that Recall can create from whatever you've saved. So if you're writing up takeaways from an article or lecture, you can drop in a concise or detailed summary with one click. Then you can open this same commands menu by clicking the plus icon here instead. Both ways give you a ton of options when it comes to creating and formatting your notebook here in Recall. Also, this editor is fully drag and drop, which makes it easy to reorganize content blocks and keep your notes structured the way you want. Just click and hold this icon next to any of your notes, and you can rearrange the text like so. Pretty cool. You can also add tables now. Just select that command from the menu, and a table is added to the notebook where you can edit it and add content to it, which is great for organizing data or comparing information inside your notes. Then if you're working with longer notes, Recall automatically generates a table of contents as your headings. So the navigation becomes way easier. Just hover your mouse over these lines here, and each heading displays, and then whenever you click on them, you'll be taken to that specific part of the content in your notebook. Now, this isn't a really great example because this is just a concise summary, so it's not really moving around that much, but we'll reuse this feature once we have more content in the notebook to show you how useful it is. All right, then you can also create connections between notes, either by highlighting text and clicking the lightning bolt icon, or by using the double square brackets on your keyboard. And let me show you that way. So first, if I add some text and then press the double square brackets on my keyboard, you'll see this little yellow highlighted area appear, which means the connections feature is active and Recall is getting ready to link this text to something in my knowledge base. So let's type in N8N, and this opens up the search results pulled from the content that I've already added. And because Recall is indexing everything on the fly, it doesn't just show exact matches, it also suggests related terms, concepts, and media that might be relevant. So in this case, you'll see the software company, related articles, and even a video content that's tied to the subject. And then if we select N8N from that list, Recall will turn the plain text into a connected reference. And this isn't just a bullet point now, it's actually a live entity within the notebook. And if we hover over it, you'll see a preview pop up showing related sources, tags, and connections. That means that at any point I could dive deeper into this topic without having to jump around different notes or lose context. Then another way to add a connection is by pressing / on your keyboard, and then from the command menu, selecting that lightning bolt icon there. And this will allow you to add connections to your notes as well. And this is really powerful when you're building research notes, content outlines, or knowledge maps, because instead of copying and pasting links everywhere, Recall lets you build a web of references that you can navigate visually. And all of these connections are searchable and available in the chat feature later. So when you ask questions, Recall is able to pull from those linked ideas and surface clearer, more contextual answers. Another useful tip is that you could always jump back to the original YouTube video or article by clicking the link at the top of the notebook. The header includes the title of the source and a little YouTube icon here since it's a YouTube video. So if you want to re-watch a section, check a reference, or compare Recall's summary with the original, you can get back to the video quickly. Additionally, you could add both concise and detailed summaries to the same notebook. Just open the Recall Chrome extension, and within the Reader tab towards the bottom, just click the concise or detailed summary buttons, and Recall will generate a new version of the summary for you. And then you'll be able to read and review it here in the Reader tab. Then once it's finished, if you scroll down to the bottom, click the Add to Notebook button, and Recall will instantly drop that new summary into your notebook. Then if you click Open in Notebook, that'll show you the notebook view within the browser extension. But if we head back to our desktop view, you'll see the new detailed summary is now here as well. And I really like this because it lets you keep both versions side by side. The concise summary is great for quick reviews, and then the detailed summary is perfect when you want a deeper dive into the content. And now it's actually a great moment to highlight one of Recall's really useful updates since we now have more content in our notebook, and that's the Enhanced Table of Contents feature. This addition makes it incredibly easy to navigate through all of the different sections of your content within your notebook. And as you add summaries and notes, you'll notice these small lines appearing on the right-hand side of your notebook interface, and by hovering your mouse over those lines, you'll instantly see all of the headings and sections that you've created. And if you click on any of those headings, Recall will take you right to that exact spot in your notebook. It's a really handy way to keep everything organized and jump between sections without any hassle. Next, shifting our focus to the various tabs above the summary. This is like a navigation menu within each card that allows you to do some pretty cool stuff. And again, I know we briefly went over this earlier in the video, but I still want to revisit it. Okay, if you recall, you can rearrange these navigation tabs. So if you have certain views or data you access more frequently, you can drag them into whatever order works best for your workflow. And depending on how you're using Recall, this can help you keep things organized whether you're focused on sources, summaries, media, or connections. Next, let's take a look at the Quiz tab. Recall can generate an AI quiz based on whatever content you're studying, and it only takes one click. Just open the Quiz tab and click Start Quiz. And Recall will create a set of questions for you, and you can take the quiz right away or edit the questions if you want to customize your practice. It's a great way to reinforce what you're learning and test how much you actually remember. There's also a Graph tab, which gives you a visual way to explore the ideas, tools, and concepts connected to whatever content you're reviewing. And when you click the Graph tab, Recall builds a web of related cards around the video or article that you're studying. Each node represents something mentioned in the content, like a company, a product, or a software tool. And as you hover over each node, a preview card pops up showing that term, and if you click on it, Recall expands it so you could dig even deeper. It's a fun way to explore relationships and understand how everything links together, and it could spark new ideas or help you build out your long-term knowledge base. Then last but not least, we have the chat feature, and we'll go into greater detail on this during the global chat section of the video, but this is a super innovative feature that instead of generic conversations with an AI chatbot, you're getting tailored guidance that reflects the voices, philosophies, and frameworks of the content that you've added to Recall. The AI chatbot pulls data from your added content and your notes and facilitates the conversation based on that content. It's tailored for you personally and pulls insights from the experts that you trust and follow. So instead of getting generic answers from a model trained on random internet data, you're having a conversation shaped by the articles, videos, and research that you've chosen to save. And like I said, we'll dive deeper into how to actually use this feature, but it's a powerful way to turn passive consumption into real understanding. Then another quick review on how you can control the layout of what you're looking at. First, the View Swap button is in the bottom right corner of the header, and this controls where the notebook and the reader appear on your screen. If you like reviewing the notebook on the left and the reader on the right, you can leave it as is, but if you want to flip that layout, just click this swap icon and Recall instantly switches those two panels. Then on the upper right corner of the screen is the collapsed view option, and if you click that, Recall will condense the notebook into a single streamlined column with less spacing and a tighter layout. This is helpful when you want to scan through your notes quickly without scrolling as much, and then if you ever want to go back to the expanded layout, just click that icon again, and everything will return to normal. These view controls are simple, but they make a big difference when you're working through longer videos or bigger research topics, and they help you keep everything organized in a way that fits your workflow. Then staying in the upper right corner of the screen, you'll see 3 more icons that give you extra control over your notes and how you want to use them. The first one is the copy link button, and when you click this, Recall instantly generates a shareable link to the notebook card that you are currently viewing and copies it to your clipboard. This is great when you want to share a summary, a set of notes, or research thread with a friend, a team member, or even your future self in another app or document. It's a quick way to take something you learned and pass it along. Next to that is the font size control, and if you click that, you'll see a small overlay that lets you adjust the text size for the reader, notebook, chat messages, quizzes, everything. You can make everything larger if you want a more comfortable reading experience, or scale it down if you prefer to see more on the screen at once. It's a small feature, but when you're working through long videos or detailed sources, having the right font size can make a big difference. And then that 3-dot icon opens the full list of notebook options. When you click on it, Recall shows you when the notebook was created and last updated, and then gives you several actions that you could take. You can export the entire notebook to Markdown if you want to store your notes somewhere else or publish them. You can view all the images attached to the notebook and add images. You can share the notebook directly, and if you ever want to clean things up, you can delete the notebook entirely. These options give you more control over how you manage your saved content and how you move your notes into other tools or workflows. All right, moving on. Next, let's quickly go over Recall's categories. Okay, so this is going to be quick, but I still thought it's super helpful to know. So as your collection grows, Recall organizes everything and automatically creates categories based on what you save. It's surprisingly accurate at grouping topics together, and you can drag cards between categories here on the sidebar if you want to reorganize things manually. You can also add your own tags by clicking the plus icon in the header, and then name your tag, and it'll be added to the category on the sidebar there. And if you want to move even faster, you can bulk tag multiple cards right from the homepage. So if I click these checkboxes on the cards that I want to group together, you'll see a selection bar appear at the bottom of the screen showing how many items are being grouped. And from here, just click the tag icon, and Recall opens a bulk edit window where you can add new tags to all of them at once, or remove tags that no longer apply. This is a quick way to organize content after a research session or clean up older cards without having to open and edit each one individually. Keeps everything consistent and saves a ton of time when you're working with larger collections of notes, videos, and documents. All right, moving on. Next, let's take a closer look at Recall's global chat. All right, next, I want to talk to you about chat. This isn't just your normal AI chatbot. Recall's chat feature is designed to help you have meaningful and personalized conversations based on the knowledge that you've actually saved. And this includes not only the content that you upload into Recall, but also the notes that you write and organize inside your notebook. So as you research, highlight ideas, or jot down thoughts, Recall can actively reference those notes in future conversations to give you a tailored response. And what makes this work is that you can import content from any expert that you follow, and Recall will then blend their insights with your own notes, goals, and preferences. So instead of a generic conversation with an AI model, you're getting tailored guidance that reflects the voices, philosophies, and frameworks that you trust. And it turns your note-taking into kind of a personalized mentorship system where the content that you've collected becomes interactive and actionable. So to start chatting, click on Chat in the sidebar menu there, and this will bring you to the chat interface. And from here, you could either type the @ symbol there in the chat box, or you could click the @ symbol there. And this allows you to search for cards or tags that you want the chat to reference. And as soon as you do that, you'll see a drop down of your saved notes, articles, and tags that you could select whichever ones you want to include in the conversation. And this is where Recall becomes really powerful because you're not just chatting with a generic AI, you're chatting with an AI that's grounded in your knowledge base. So for this example, I'm going to go ahead and choose two sources. First, I selected a set of brainstorming notes that I personally wrote. These are my own thoughts, ideas, and topics that I want to explore. And then I'm also adding a video that I saved about N8N, and now Recall has access to both my internal notes and expert content in the same conversation, which gives it much more context to work with. Then once we've added those, we can ask the chatbot something like, based on my notes in this N8N video, how can I incorporate more N8N videos into my YouTube channel? And then when I send that through, you'll notice that the response is being built, but it's not generic. Recall actually extracts ideas from both sources and merges them into a detailed, actionable answer. It pulls strategies from the video, combines them with themes from my brainstorming notes, and then turns it into a plan that matches my goals. Then I could keep the conversation going with follow-ups like, how can I incorporate N8N with the video ideas in my notes? And Recall will generate a new response based on the same combination of expert content and my personal notes. So instead of researching manually, you're basically having a conversation that synthesizes expert insights with your own thinking, which massively speeds up ideation and planning. All right, moving on. Next, let's take a closer look at augmented browsing. So Recall has added a really helpful feature called Augmented Browsing, and this is where things start to feel almost magical whenever you're researching and reading online. So to turn this on, head over to your settings by clicking the gear icon in the sidebar menu there, and then find the browser extension settings and click the extension settings button. And that opens the Recall extension controls, and you'll see an option called Enable Augmented Browser. Go ahead and turn that on, and then right below it, you can also enable the widget, which sits on the page whenever Recall detects connections in the article that you're reading. You can enable it globally or just turn it on for specific sites, but also please note that this feature is local, so nothing actually leaves your browser. Okay, once both features are enabled, head back to any web page, and I'll open this Men's Health article as an example. And now, on the right edge of the screen, you'll notice a small widget tab. And if you hover your mouse over it, Recall slides out a panel that shows how many connections are found on that page and gives you quick actions like creating a concise summary, generating a detailed summary, or opening the page directly in the reader. But what's even cooler is this augmented browsing itself. You can click either one of these arrows and Recall navigates to the highlighted names, tools, companies, and other entities that you've interacted with before. And then when you hover over any of those highlighted terms on the page, Recall shows you a preview card with details about that item, along with any connections it has to your saved content. Then if I hover over a word here and click on it, I'm taken back to the exact spot that word, sardine, was used in my knowledge base. This is super helpful because the article that I'm referencing is actually somewhat against the sardine diet. However, my content and my knowledge base is for the sardine diet. So this is a great tool to help me quickly see the pros and cons to this diet from experts I trust. This makes it so much easier to understand the context of what you're reading, and it helps you build a stronger mental map of everything that you've learned. And then taking a closer look at the widget, at the top you've got the option to highlight connections, and when this is turned on, Recall will visually highlight any terms, entities, or topics on the page that it recognizes from your knowledge base. So instead of passively reading, you immediately see what content overlaps with things that you've already saved. And if you ever want a cleaner view, you can simply flip that switch off and all of those highlights disappear instantly. Right below that, you'll see how many connections Recall found on the current page, and you can click the drop down to expand the list and review each one individually. Then under the action section, you got a few tools that you could run, like the concise summary, and that will generate a short high-level overview of the page so you can quickly understand the main ideas. The detailed summary goes into deeper detail, obviously, and gives you a more thorough breakdown of the content. And then if you want a distraction-free view, you could click Open Reader, and this pulls the content into Recall's reader interface. Then at the bottom, you also have two controls that let you disable the widget. You can disable it for this specific website if you don't want Recall popping up here, or disable it globally if you want a completely clean browsing experience. Now, before we wrap up, I also want to quickly go over the pricing for Recall Plus because this part honestly surprised me. If you want to unlock the full experience, including unlimited summaries, the augmented browser, the widget, advanced review tools, and everything else that we just walked through, Recall Plus is only $7 per month whenever you purchase an annual plan. And if you'd rather go month to month, it's just $10 per month. So whether you commit annually or pay monthly, it's still one of the most affordable AI tools that I've seen for what it actually delivers. But honestly, for what this tool does, the Plus plan is extremely affordable. You're basically getting a personal research assistant, a content organizer, and a browser enhancer, and a studying tool, all bundled into one lightweight subscription. And if you end up using Recall even a fraction as much as I do, the upgrade pays for itself almost immediately. Also, if you do decide to sign up, be sure to use my promo code BEN25 during checkout to save even more money on your subscription. And that brings us to the end of this Recall walkthrough. Hopefully you can see just how powerful this tool really is once you start using it in your day-to-day workflow. And whether you're researching, organizing ideas, saving articles, or building a long-term knowledge base, Recall gives you this smooth, flexible system that just makes everything easier. And the fact that it works across the browser, the widget, the reader, and the desktop notebook, and even your mobile device means you can stay focused no matter where you are online. And before I wrap up, a lot of people compare Recall to NotebookLM, Notion, or Obsidian. And one key difference, especially with NotebookLM, is that their system is built around limited sources inside separate notebooks. You only get intelligence from whatever you put into that one space. But Recall is unlimited. It ingests everything that you save, articles, videos, podcasts, PDFs, and your own notes, and connects it into a single knowledge base. You can chat across all of your content at once, and because everything is automatically organized and tagged, you don't need to build folders or manually structure anything. You get personalized insights from sources that you trust without the setup work. So, if you found this tutorial helpful, feel free to dive in and start experimenting with Recall yourself. I've linked to it in the video description below so you can get started today. And the more you use Recall, the more value you get from it, and the faster it becomes at capturing and connecting all the information that you're working with. So, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. So that's going to do it for this video. If you found it helpful, I'd greatly appreciate it if you would like, comment, share, and subscribe to the Blog with Ben YouTube channel. Also, if you're looking to start a blog, check out these two videos on how to build, grow, and monetize a WordPress blog. They'll walk you through the entire process step by step. And as always, your support means a great deal to me and my family, and for that, I thank you. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next video, and thanks for watching.